In this society we live, I can adapt. And if I made it once, I know that I can make it back. What's opinions or a fact? I've been climbing. Now what they call procrastination, I see perfect timing. It coming where we from, no, not the city, but the bottom. No hope and resolutions when you know you was the problem. I told Dre it ain't like I'm really done with lectures, so I done what's best for me. You ain't a failure for investing in your dreams. And when that day should come, I earned it all relentlessly.
So, welcome to another episode of the Mentee, where you learn skills that pay bills. This is going to be our second episode of the wellness series. I'm sitting here with a phenomenal guest, like just an all-around amazing lady, just a beautiful blessing to this world. And so, just with no further introduction, it's Quanitta.
Hey everyone, my name is Quanitta Kelly, and I am the CEO and co-founder, executive director of B2B Unlimited. B2B Unlimited stands for It's a Blessing to Be a Blessing. And we work with young adults who are between the ages of 17 and 26. We offer financial literacy, we offer transitional housing, resumes, job prep, just a lot of different things that can help them, better themselves and be more prepared for the real world.
That's awesome. And so, just like, what age group are you targeting?
We are targeting between 17 and 26, and that's men and women.
Men and women.
Yes.
That's dope, because a lot of times, they either classify one or the other.
So I didn't want to do that because I know that both age groups and need different types of services. So I didn't want to just limit it to just one population, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I feel like as far as with that age group anyway, men and women go through so much, and so like it's good to have the help, especially like amongst men. As a man, like as a young man, especially starting out on my journey, I felt like I didn't have any help, and so I turned towards mentors and people in the community for knowledge, and so you looking to be that resource,
right?
And so that's like dope. What made you come about with that idea?
A lot of times I just think back on my life and I feel like I wish I knew a lot of things that I know now back then, but there was no one there to guide us to even think about it. A lot of times our parents don't think about teaching us financial literacy. They don't teach us how to be a good employee. They don't teach us to not just be an employee, but how to create businesses. And you don't think about the difference between renting and owning. You don't learn those type of things. Not necessarily even in school. We're always working towards test prep and knowing the answers to the test, but not so much of what's going to help you in the real world to get ahead. And I had to live paycheck to paycheck and be able to break generational curses.
So not enough life prep.
Yes.
And that's like vital, because like how are you gonna be prepared for everyday life if they don't really prepare you for life?
Right.
And it's all about like tests and just being able to do school well, but like actually succeed in life. And so like that's like very, very dope. And so so what do you do now other than just while you're out and about? Like what do you do? How far is the garden?
Well, we are registered as a nonprofit organization, and I have been able to link with different agencies that we're going to be partnering with to do like the resumes with write-on services, of course, mentees with mentees, and then we'll be working with B's Changing Effort for counseling, so we'll offer those services as well. So yeah, we're moving right along. As a nonprofit organization, we're always taking donations to work towards our different goals. So I do have a few goals going on right now to meet milestones, but we hope to have the transitional housing and everything up and running within the next year. As of right now, we do offer the clothing closet. We do offer the resume services. We do offer job prep. So we are doing all those things currently.
Okay, so that's awesome. So like you guys are making an impact on the community, and so that's like beautiful. That's like really allowing them to be able to really find a source. Like who had the impact on you that kind of made you want to do this for the next generation?
So I guess the way I really came about everything is first becoming a social worker. As a teenager, one of my best friends, her mom passed away when we were in high school, and so there was a lady that would come to the school. I didn't really know who she was or what she did, but I seen the impact that she made on her life, and so that started me on my journey of becoming a social worker. And so on my journey of becoming a social worker, I worked at the homeless shelter. And at the homeless shelter, I noticed that a lot of people that came in were young adults that aged out of foster care and had nowhere else to go. And a lot of times they wasn't prepared for the real world. They didn't know how to go about getting on their feet.
Right.
And so my position at the shelter didn't allow me to help them as much as I felt like they needed it. You know,
Right.
I really couldn't provide them with the resources that I felt would really help them get on their feet. So that's what really kind of started me on my journey and gave me the passion because I seen that it was a need in our community.
Right. And actually today I seen like a classmate of mine like pushing a cart. And I was just like, man, like it's wild how many people I went to school with that are actually amongst the homeless community. And like I'm only 28. However, I'm like, wow, like life could have went so many different ways. And just to like see that and then to be having this conversation with you is like it's a need. It's a huge space for that because a lot of us didn't have guidance. You know, and a lot of us didn't feel as if we had help, and so we try to buck the system or
you try to figure it out your own way, you know, and some people are successful when they try to figure it out their own way, but then when you don't really have the resources that everyone else have, you lack that, you know. So it's about choices sometimes, but it's also about the resources that you have.
Exactly. You know, those choices, those resources, it's like the combination of the two, you know, because like you can go get a job at McDonald's, but you can also be working with somebody else that's working at McDonald's, but somebody's eventually going to be the manager.
Right.
And then somebody's eventually going to quit.
Right.
And they're either going to get a better job or they're going to get a job just like it. And it can be continuous for some people, and it could just it can be different. Like everybody has their own different journey, which is the amazing part about having these conversations. And so I find it dope that you're meeting so many different people and you're handling them in so many different ways because you offer different services. And so like the job prep, the transitional housing, like and so the transitional housing is going to be for like really being able to allow them to learn how to live, or like what does it do?
So it will actually allow them to practice those skills because of course we'll have them job ready. We'll be doing job readiness, so they'll learn about budgeting. That's a financial literacy. And then the transitional housing will provide that need from those who are homeless. You know, it will help knock down the population of homelessness. That's the goal in the age groups that we're working with. So transitional housing will be, sometimes they might have like a roommate and sometimes they won't. And then they'll transition into their own, and hopefully the goal is for them to be able to either purchase their own home or be able to, you know, rent to own or do Habitat for Humanity, but we want to be able to set them up where they're not having to rent and live paycheck to paycheck.
That's dope. That's dope. And so you're really allowing somebody, for one, because at a young age, nowadays, life hits you very fast. Information is like this.
Right.
If you don't learn fast, you're washed out. And so like you're preparing them like right out of high school basically.
Right.
Because if you don't go to college and you're homeless now, so it's over with. Like you're having to figure this thing out. And so definitely you're preparing them like to be successful adults all around. And so like what part has your program kind of like impacted you the most, would you say?
Well, I wouldn't say that I've actually worked in a population that my ideal business is for, but I have continuously and always worked with youth, and always been able to see the impact that it makes on their lives later on. You know, a lot of times we don't see something happen right away, but when it blossoms, it blossoms. And so that's the main part. Like, it's like you got it. Right. You know, like you may not see it right away, but when you see somebody who actually got it, you're like, yes. Like, I'm genuinely excited and happy for everybody who's here to better themselves.
And that's what I know. That's what I know. So, because even as a social worker, you know, like, what part of social work did you do?
I work with mental health and behavior health. I specialize working with children, you know, youth. That's just my specialty. I do work with adults as well, but I prefer to work with youth.
Got you. And so that mental health space, because that's a big topic right now. Like, what would you say is like one of the number one causes in like mental health work? If that's not too touchy of a subject to touch on.
I would say a lot of things that I see is mainly it's more so family related, you know. What goes in the house stays in the house, you know. That's how we grow up. That's what we know. So you feel like a lot of people feel like they can't speak up. They don't know how to express their emotions. Or men, you can't cry. You gotta man up, chin up.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever you feel, you never learn how to express it.
Right.
So you hold it in, and then it turns into be anger, and people feel like you're an angry person, you know, or you have issues because you don't know how to express your emotions. Yeah. So that's what I see a lot.
And that's true, like, because as men, for sure, like, I hear all the time, like, oh man, like, I want to be able to express myself, but nobody's gonna listen, nobody's gonna care. Like, I'm gonna just put my head down.
Or they feel like it's feminine, you know?
Yes, so often, and it's kind of wild because I mean, like, we all have emotions. That's the one thing about just being human. Like, well, not the one thing. It's a few things that we have in common as men and women, but we all have that trait. We all have feelings and emotions, and so like, wow, just dealing with that part, the mental health. And so you're going to also tie that in here too as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, so we will offer mental health services to the age groups. As I said, we'll be working with Beast Change and Effort. It's a black-owned counseling services that's located in Salisbury. They also have a location in Charlotte, so it's well established. And we serve, you know, everyone, age groups, all age groups, from like 4 years old up until, you know, the elderly. So it's ranked for everyone, but we will be using that services for the teenagers and youth that age out of foster care. It's not going to be something that's forced on them. It's going to be a service that they're offered. You know, if they want it, they want it. If not, okay. It's not a requirement for them to be a part of the program.
Got you. Because, I mean, therapy, I think is needed. Mm-hmm. Like, but it's also tough to do.
It is. It really has to do with the mindset and what space you're in your life. Because it's up to you to say, this hasn't worked for me, and I want to do something different. You know? So you can offer someone services all day long, but it's really going to be up to them if they're really wanting to try it. If they want to give it a try, you know, and actually put in the work. So that's what it takes. It takes them to be able to say, what I've tried hasn't worked. I want to try something different.
Right. And want it for themselves. Mm-hmm. That's dope.
Because a lot of times people feel like, I'm not crazy. I don't need therapy. But therapy is not for crazy people. We're not crazy. I don't even say anyone is crazy, honestly. It's just really being able to have an outlet to dig deep on things that really hurt you, that you suppressed. Right. You know, because sometimes people do things to us or say things to us and it hurts us. Right. But we suppress it. Right. And then when you suppress it, it becomes to a snowball effect. and it starts to affect your life. Maybe even how you treat other people. You know, so.
Right, speak to that, because, I mean, like, so many people are angry, like, especially, and you see it all over social media now, like, oh, you know, like, I get back, or, you know, I'm all for it, go back and get them. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, as a mental health advocate and just person, like, just overall, like, what's some of the things that you teach people in those mental health situations to kind of handle like conflict resolution, or
I don't really know how to answer that question without it actually being like a therapy session. Because different diagnoses for different people.
right.
There are different tactics that you use for everybody. One thing may not work for one person, it's gonna work for another person. So it really has to do with what that individually person is going through and what they've been through and what level they are on. So that would be how you would answer the question depending on that. But I would say that I'm all for putting your mental health first. You know, when you see signs and you feel things, take heed to it. Don't just brush it off or put it on the back burner, because you can live a healthier life than what we are now. You know, you feel like I'm going through the motions, like I've been making it, but yet you're not really happy within yourself. There's another life. You know, there is a way to be happy. There is a way to live with these diagnoses and still be successful. So just because you have the mental health concerns or anything that you have, it doesn't mean that you won't be successful in life.
Right. And that's a big part too. I think because a lot of people get to look at social media, and the reason I keep pointing out social media is because I mean, like, that's another common ground. And I mean, so most of the people we're dealing with right now are literally off of social media, and so like it's, you look at society in general. It's, I'm flashing money. I'm living life better than you. I'm doing better than you. I'm doing good. Even amongst your friends, it's competition. It's, girl, I got this. Boy, you ain't doing nothing.
Yeah.
Rather than love.
It is, but if you notice that here lately, there has been a lot of people, famous people, singers, actors, who are coming out and sharing that they have mental health concerns that they've been battling with. So just because you see the hype and what you see is not really reality for them.
Right.
And so I commend people who are sharing their stories. I think I seen David Mann the other day, and he was battling with depression. And his wife was saying, like, I didn't know what was wrong with them. I didn't know what was going on. She had no clue, but she knew something was off. She knew something was off, but she didn't know what was going on until he was able to come out about it.
Right.
I think it was it Taraji P. Henson? I think she came out about some things that she had been battling with and struggling with. And I seen that, and I was like that was powerful, because that's what people need to see. We're so used to always seeing the flashy money, the flashy clothes, the cars, and everything like that, but we don't see what people really go through.
Right.
Because when you start seeing other people come out and sharing their struggles, you kind of understand more like this is a norm. Like, I'm not abnormal to have these feelings or to have these emotions.
And so, how can people start to like really discover? I mean, because I know it's person to person, but like, do you know any tactics that a person could possibly use to kind of like check themselves out, to realize, like, to maybe find themselves to see if they have mental health issues?
Well, that's hard, because a lot of times we're in the now, you know. So you felt a type of way, but you suppressed it, you know. People go into a dark place and they fight out and they come out, you know.
Right.
You go into the dark place and you come out. So it's like you're more in denial to addressing it because you feel like you're handling it, you know. Or people shut down and they'll stay away from people for a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And then they come back out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have a way of dealing with it, but is it a healthy way? Are you addressing it? You know what I'm saying? Are you suppressing it or are you addressing it?
Right.
So that's kind of like the difference, because I know a lot of people struggle with it, but everyone is dealing with it in their own way, and a lot of times people don't really understand what it is that they're going through. And so they feel like they can't come out and say anything, or they can't speak up because I feel like I'm abnormal. Like, this ain't normal. You know what I'm saying? So they don't want to step out, especially if it's something that's been going on in a family. You know,
Right.
if you've been in a family and your mom had borderline personality disorder, you know, and then you start having symptoms, you don't understand why you flip-flopping and why you're not getting along with people and why these relationships aren't working and why you feel like you can't trust people. But then you realize that you really went through those same things growing up. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes things like that happen and you don't really understand what it is if your mom that had struggled with it didn't say anything about it to you. You know? Right. She never was transparent with you about why she was feeling like she was, or why she amped out or spazzed out when she did, you know? So, yeah.
Right. And see, and because even like as a parent, you know, like how do parents really have that conversation? You know, because like that's an interesting topic to even get started amongst families, because it's really, like you said from the jump, it's a family issue. It starts amongst the household. And so like if you're battling with something and you're a parent, like how do you tell your kid like, hey,
and a lot of times your kids don't really understand what you're going through either, you know, as a parent. And what happens is it spirals to your kids. They're affected by it, but they don't understand why. You know, so you can't explain it because you don't know what's going on, and then they don't know how to receive it because they don't know what's going on.
Right.
So that's when I really encourage family there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We all come together and we work on ourselves so that we can better understand each other.
Right. And that's essentially really what's needed, I feel like, as far as just in the community in general, because it's so many times where, like, especially adults not realizing, like, hey, my parents didn't have it all figured out. Like, you were supposed to be a good mom, and my mama didn't do this for me, my daddy didn't do this for me, and, like, but you grown now. But you might have kids yourself, you might have your own responsibilities, but you're blaming everything on your mom and daddy. That when you was a child. Like, you can't deal with that now. You can't go back and fix that.
And so we really have to focus on a lot of times what I teach is what can you control versus what you can't control, right? You can control what you do from now on. Now that you know and you understand it, what are you going to do different? Are you going to continue to allow it to be a cycle, or are you going to change some things in your life?
Right. And so, I mean, they come into the right place. Hey, like, you're a 17 to 26-year-old kid, and just the 26, right?
So, yes, the 26, so, like, there's 26 and turn 27, of course, so we're not just going to be like, oh, we're not working with you, but we're really working with the 17 to 26-year-olds to help them step up the ladder to become self-sufficient.
And so why 26?
Why 26? It's a 10-year span. And you really don't want to start at 27 and 28 because you've experienced way more than what you would have at the age of 16 and 17. So if we catch it early on, by the time you're 27 and you're 28, you kind of got more things together. You're more self-sufficient. Because what happened with us is we turn 27, we turn 28, and we just now figuring it out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're just now figuring it out. So if we start beforehand, we can beat that cycle. We can curve it where they're learning before the age of 27 and 28.
Hey, you got it, girl. You got it. I don't want to talk about. Now, that's it right there. So, I mean, y'all got the game plan. 17 to 26, and you need some type of therapy, help, job readiness, financial literacy. That financial literacy piece is a gem.
Yes. And we'll be working with, like, different banks and just different people that work in the credit world, you know, that know the credit world, to help us really set you up for self-sufficiency. That's the overall goal, is when you step out of the program, And even if you don't do the transitional housing, you know, you can still do the other programs, and take heed for the other services, but it's to be self-sufficient,
Right.
where you don't have to struggle, and you don't have to try to figure it out on your own because you got support.
That's the key part right there. Having that support, having that backbone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because
Yeah.
you giving them that basically that lethal weapon.
Right.
You know.
And we'll be working with different landlords. You know, we'll be working with different real estate agents. We'll be working with different jobs and things like that, where we can actually contract with them to kind of get everybody where they need to be.
For sure. And so, what all do you need from the community to back you up and make sure that this is even more successful than what it already is?
Share the word, because as kids age out of foster care, said they may not already. We're going to work through DSS and, you know, the natural home and things like that. But there may already be teenagers and young adults already out there.
Right.
You know, between those age groups that need help. So sharing the word. We have different events, drives, and things like that going on. We have a clothing closet to do like business attire and things like that. So if you have any clothing that's in good use, business attire, you're welcome to share that with us, things like that. If you know any connects, we're all for networking. You know, if you know anyone that's already doing the things that we do, connect us. Let us link up, because it's going to close the gap.
Right.
You know,
less about competition, more about collaboration.
Exactly,
Right.
because it's bigger than me. You know, it's bigger than us.
Right.
It's not just about Salisbury. It's not just about Kannapolis. It's not just about Concord. You know, Greensboro, Winston-Salem. It's about working to decrease the amount of people who are homeless, decrease the amount of people who are struggling, decrease the amount of youth who don't know where to start.
Right. And that's awesome. Like, literally, that's a major blessing to society, because like it's so much information out there. Go get it from the source. You know, financial literacy, job readiness, like it. I'm sure that this would be awesome in like a school program, anything like any. So if y'all know that you need this in your school, your organization, anything, please hit up Quanitta. Where can they hit you up at?
You can hook me up on Facebook. We do have a business page on there. It's B2B Unlimited. We also have a website. We'll have the information for that soon as well. We also have a email address, which is only b2bunlimited@gmail.com. And you can contact me personally at 980-234-9377. So that's my number.
Got you. Hey, it is amazing what you do. Like, and this lady is a true blessing amongst the community. She's not even speaking about, like, this is just surface level. Like, I'm telling you, it's way deeper what this lady does in the community. So definitely tap in and like be a support to her and be of service and a backbone to this amazing program, and just like look out for those that support you, you know, because that's the most important part. Like life readiness, life prep is so important.
Right.
These kids need this, you know, and it's so amazing what you're doing. And so I commend you, and we'd love to hear a gem, you know, before you go. So what's a gem that you live by? You know, quote.
It's a blessing to be a blessing. I feel like as long as you hold on to everything that you know, all the knowledge,
Right.
and you don't share it, how else is everyone else going to become successful? When God bless you with something, it's for you to share with everybody else. Of course, we do have some blessings just for ourselves, but when you have an overflow, which I know that B2B Unlimited is going to be, gotta share it.
Gotta share it.
Gotta share it.
Gotta share it. So y'all heard what to do. share it, man. I'm so grateful to have you on, and I really appreciate you coming on the Mentee channel. And as always, folks, appreciate today and definitely be a service to B2B. Be a blessing to be a blessing.
I know in this society we live, I can adapt. And if I made it once, I know that I can make it back. What's opinions or a fact? I've been climbing. Now what they call procrastination, I see perfect timing. And coming where we from, no, not the city, but the bottom. No hope and resolutions when you know you was the problem. I told Dre, and like I'm really done with lectures, so I done what's best for me. You ain't a failure for investing in your dreams. And when that day should come, I earned it all relentlessly.